artist, Tone Rodriguez. Yes. And Tony Fleece. Yes. They are very happy to be here, as you can tell. We are very happy to have them. They're going to be answering any questions the audience has about stray dogs and probably talking y'all's ear off about all kinds of funny things that have nothing to do with stray dogs.
Possible.
I'm going to leave it to them. All right, guys, thank you for coming out.
No applause from Uncle Nasty.
Oh, thank you. Excellent.
That was a great job. Fabulous job.
Question.
Yeah.
The inspiration behind Stray Dogs.
Yes.
How did that come about? What made you come up with that story?
Oh, okay. Well, I always liked like the dog cartoons in the 80s and 90s. The first movie I ever saw in the theater was Fox and the Hound, and I was watching a murder show, I was watching Bates Motel, and the kid didn't have Norman Bates didn't have a dog, and then I left the room. I went to the bathroom. When I came back, he had a dog, and I asked my friends if he had killed somebody and taken their dog, and they said he did not kill anybody. And I was like, oh, that's a cool idea though if a killer killed people and took their dogs. And so that's where the gem of the idea came from. And then I just started thinking about what if we told that story, but from the perspective of dogs, and told it like one of those 80s and 90s dog movies, like a Balto or a Rover Dangerfield. That's where it came from.
That's news to me. That's first time.
You didn't know about that?
No, not at all.
You don't listen to my many interviews? Or?
I'd like to get the story
Straight dope.
straight from the tap, is like I call it.
We figured we'd probably do like a Yes, Uncle Nasty.
Oh, I was just going to say, would you be willing to meet one of my dogs to try to get a character reference?
Just try and get like a vibe from what your dog's like. Yeah, that'd be all right. Are they here?
I've got to know. I can bring one though.
To this panel?
Next time.
Oh, okay, yeah, next time for sure.
Yeah.
I figured we just sort of like conversate, like Tone and I would have a conversation, sort of ask each other about like what the process was like, and then if you guys have questions, you can just interject too. We'll keep it sort of free flowing. That way we don't have to do like a we talk period and then you guys talk period. We'll just do this like a conversation. It's a small enough group. I feel like we can all get it in, right?
I feel like I know them all already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all friends here.
Except for that dude back there. I don't know that guy.
So, do you want to kick this off? Do you have any
You
questions?
kick it off. I'm going to follow your lead.
Try to explain, as you understand it, the process of making this book. Like, how does the collaboration work?
All right. Well, first and foremost, I've known Tony for several years, and we used to work in a studio in LA. And we worked literally about 20 feet away from each other, 15 feet away from each other. And so every so often we'd have a situation where Tony would be working on something that he either didn't want to do or didn't have time to do or couldn't figure out. And he would just throw something my way and vice versa. So we always had kind of like this really cool, like, you know, we can jump in on stuff and play with things. And so there's a few things that we've done where we've done that collaborative kind of work. And so when he first got a hold of me for Stray Dogs, I had already done layouts for another book that he was doing that will be coming out soon, which was
Time Shopper.
Time Shopper.
Yeah.
And then prior to that, I was helping him with some other layouts on
Jeff Steinberg.
Jeff
You helped
Steinberg,
on
yeah,
that too,
yeah.
yeah.
So these had already been done. And so when he got a hold of me for Stray Dogs, he literally just kind of like already had most of the ideas worked out, which made my job real easy. He would send me these very rough layouts, and what he basically needed or requested for me to do is what I like to call do the math. And math is not my strong point, but when I can translate math into art, it makes sense. And basically that is taking the layouts, taking the images that he's already imagining for the book that Trish needs to draw, and then basically drawing the houses, the backgrounds, the cars, the porch, whatever it was that you see in the book. And try to keep it consistent so that every time we go back to this location and, you know, subsequent locations, everything made sense, which is something I don't really spend a lot of time working on my own. Like I'll pick angles where like, oh, well, we already know what the room looks like. We don't need to see it. But because this book was so involved with their location, especially the sanctum, or the dog room, or
The sunroom, yeah.
the sunroom. There you go.
Yeah.
It was very important to make sure that when we were drawing this, that we kept the symmetry and like the layout of the show, like or the room, much like someone who works on a TV show. When they're shooting a TV show, if somebody puts down a soda here, and then they cut to the other person, they come back, and then all of a sudden the soda's over here. The guy's smoking a cigarette, it's about to blow into his mouth, and then they cut back to him, and they come back to me. Now I got a full cigarette or a pipe in my hand now.
Yeah.
It's more about keeping the continuity of that done. And so, like, whenever somebody asks me, I just tell them I do the math. And then Trish takes it, and then she does what she does to it. And she will either embellish or take away to make the animation look make more sense. So there's a lot of things in my layouts that don't necessarily even get translated. Sorry about that, I'm chewing gum because I wanted minty breath.
These people are far away.
It's for you.
Oh, thank you.
It's for you. All weekend he's been like, Tone, do you need some gum? I got some gum right here.
So thoughtful.
Yeah, I'm trying to be. But and that's the funny thing, because like I have a stack of these layouts, and it's literally the only original artwork for the whole book, because Trisha does all the work digitally.
Yeah.
And so and keep in mind, only the first issue actually has dogs drawn on it, because immediately, I don't want to say that you were like, oh, what's this? Oh, thank you so much. I was just gonna hold on to that. Just minty fingers and go.
That is nasty.
Yeah, that was nasty. That was very nasty. But I forgot where I was at.
The only dogs are in the
Oh,
first.
oh yeah, like in the first issue of Layouts, because it was very clear early on. It was like, Trish knows how to draw dogs, and you don't. I just tell that story because I think it's funny. But because, I would just kind of work them out real easy. But Tony was like really clear. It's like, she can totally do that. You don't even have to waste your time. And the one thing I've learned, especially from being out of the studio, is that Tony's all about time. It's like, if that takes up too much time, don't do it. This is the stuff we need. We don't need that. And so it's weird to like think like that, because I'm used to doing everything on paper.
Yeah,
So
like a finished piece.
Yeah,
you really
exactly.
like to have like a finished piece. Like
Yeah.
when Tone, like if he's inking a thing and it's like a scene that's all black, like the fastest way to do it is just leave everything open, scan it in, and then you can just paint bucket the blacks and send it off to the publisher or whatever. But Tone really has to feel it, so he fills it all in with a brush, or like if he's penciling, he fills it all in with pencil. It's just like
waste of time.
process is
Huge.
beautiful original art, but the result is the same either way. So
Yeah.
on this stuff that's like production art for Stray Dogs, because it's not the final stuff that shows up in the book, I'm always just like, whatever's the fastest way to get it. On this page we only have one angle. You can just draw the panel one time, and then
Yeah, we
can just
use it
copy and
multiple
paste it.
times. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, so it's math.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You're now on what, fifth printing, sixth printing, number one?
Fifth printing and number one comes out in a couple weeks. The last printing.
So, did you have any idea that this was gonna explode as big as it
No. I mean, no, it's my first image book. Before this, I'd only done licensed kids comics, and like Oni press comics that did not sell super well, so like I didn't have any expectation for it at all. And then even worse than that, when COVID happened, we were just like, oh, this is going to be a disaster, like nobody's going to go to comic stores anymore. So yeah, no, we didn't expect any sort of, we had confidence in the story. Like I knew the story was good, and I knew Trish's art was great, and Tone was doing great work. So like we knew the book was going to be cool, but it's such a crapshoot whether or not something's going to whether or not people are going to be into a thing. We liked it. We just didn't know if anybody else would.
And most of the time, you get most of the people, like the book, you get them into their hands like it shows.
Yeah.
And we're so used to like going to this little show here. We go to Bakersfield. Like, again, we were both in California, so it was all like very grassroots kind of thing. But since again with COVID, it's changed everything. I mean, even before COVID, so many of these stores weren't even having like brick and mortars anymore. They were doing all their online sales. And now it's gotten very comfortable for everybody to just go online to get their stuff. And again, I'm still that guy. I like going someplace and like handing stuff to people. But yeah, I had no idea. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do a show until after the whole series was done. So, like, I never had shows where I was like pitching the story to people. By the time I came back to conventions, everybody knew about it. So it was very strange. It was like it's like I slept through a whole season, like Rip Van Winkle. But yeah, so Tone sends me his layouts. You have a scanner now,
I do.
but all through Stray Dogs, he would just text me photographs on his iPhone.
Straight. Anybody want to buy this after it takes a crap on me? I'm gonna keep it until it stops working. But this is the Stray Dogs camera. There you go.
It was a really interesting process. It was super collaborative.
I'm so
'cause-
sorry.
No, it's fine. It worked out just fine. Like the book came out. But it was super interesting just because, like Trish would draw her stuff digitally, Tom would draw his stuff traditionally, and then send it on a phone. And we work on Dropbox, so we just sort of had like this constant churn of Tone would be sending stuff in, and Trish would be sending stuff in, and we'd send it to the flatter, and she fills in the little spaces in the colors, and then the colors would turn in stuff in. So it was just sort of like always like Grand Central Station, like we just had a couple drop boxes, and there was always sort of like different pieces flowing through. So it's been pretty cool, very collaborative.
I think the only real reason that worked though is because you're the guy. You're the one behind the whole thing.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah. If anybody else had been, it would have just.
if
been
I
a
get hit
mess.
by a bus, nobody's going to be able to figure
No,
out where all those
nothing.
files are.
No, it would have
Yeah.
been over. But going back to his question about how big of a success this is, like as soon as it did take off, I remember having conversations with you immediately. It's like, we have to tell Trish this doesn't happen. Like this,
Oh, yeah.
this doesn't happen. Like they optioned it like at Paramount, right? It's like it turned into this big thing. It's like she's gonna lose her mind.
Yeah,
It's like
this-
she's just gonna think, "Hey, comic books are easy. I'm just gonna do this," And we're like, "This doesn't happen." Just
This is her first comic book. The first comic she ever drew was Stray Dogs #1. Her first comic that ever came out was a My Little Pony issue that she drew while we were working on Stray Dogs. But yeah, like this is the first stuff she's ever done, and it's like the first issue sold over 100,000 copies, and it got optioned for a movie and stuff. So it's definitely like Tone and I have been sort of like grinding it out for years, and we're just like, oh, this is nice, this is different. But for her, she's just like, yeah, comics, it's great, pays great. Yes, sir.
Where the idea of the poster homage covers come from?
That was a friend of mine's a retailer, and he was like, you should do movie posters. They Ice Cream Man had done some, and Bitter Root was doing them, and he was like, these image books that do those, they sell really well. And at first I was like, I don't know, it seems like I didn't see the vision necessarily. I was just like, I don't know, like it feels like I'm taking somebody else's work and making money off of it, But then I talked to Image about it, and the marketing lady, Kat at Image, said, well, the smart thing about if you did horror movies, then it sort of sells the concept of the thing where it's a horror book that looks like a cartoon, and you don't have to, you can sort of skip the step of having retailers have to tell their customers like, oh, this book looks like it's for kids, but it's not for kids, and if you just do, instead just have a Silence of the Lambs cover that looks cute, and people will just sort of get it right away. So I thought that was smart. And then sure enough, they do sell very well. So after the first round, we did the second printings that we did are all just regular covers again, like, not horror movie homages. But then after that, we're just like, we should just do these horror movies because people seem to really get psyched about them. And I'm a big fan of horror movies. And so I got a charge out of like trying to make the best homages, because I see other people do them, and if they got something like a little bit off, I would just be like, that's corny, it doesn't work, and so I was psyched about being able to do ones that were just like the exact right fonts and the exact right design and all that stuff. So yeah.
But yeah, and it was just that, I guess, you had a list of ones that you were like, no, we're not going to do that one. People would come to them and they do this one and be like, no, that it doesn't fit. And it was funny because like I was hanging out. We were just in LA a couple of weeks ago working, and I got to talk to Ed, one of the retailers, and he mentioned a bunch of these covers he wanted, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. That'd be, and so I was like, nah, I don't see it. I don't. And so adamant, like, no. But meanwhile, I talk to other people, and they're like, oh, that'd be a cool cover. So everyone else thinks like, oh yeah, that'd be easy. And I think that's the problem. It's like, no, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's obvious. Like that, I don't want to do it because that'd be too obvious.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like Trish and I are sort of the keepers of what the tone of this thing is. And so even though we're sort of going outside of the actual story of it, doing these homages, like they still have to sort of be in the range of the vibe of the, you know, it's like what the government said about pornography. They're like, I don't know what it is, but I know it when I see it, you know, like I don't know what is not a Stray Dogs cover, but I know what's not a Stray Dogs cover when I see it. You know, like a buddy wants to do Jaws very badly, and I'm just like, that's not it. You know, like that's not what this book is. So
He swears he'll get a Jaws commercial. but
he's not getting a Jaws out of me.
he's not getting it from Tony. It'll be fan art. They'll just be fan art books, and it'll all be the covers Tony doesn't want
I
to do.
think Jaws is an adventure movie anyway. It's not a horror movie.
I know, but see, that was a thing because then the Crow one came up.
The Crow's a horror movie.
No, I know, but it took you a while to think that as well because you turned it to all of us. We were in L.A.
Yeah.
And the pitch was given to us by somebody. He's not a close friend. He's a friend of mine, and I think he immediately was like, no. Meanwhile, I think that's going to be like the biggest one because of the retailer thing.
Yeah, it was like
It's going to be
a
ridiculous.
1 in 10 incentive
Yeah.
cover thing.
Yeah, you'll just have to sign it. And you'll be like, what a stupid cover.
It came out good, man.
No, it turned out great, but like it took
It's
like
an
about
adventure-y horror movie.
yeah. It
So
took
it's like
a
a
while
superhero horror
to pitch
movie.
it and go, yeah, do it. And at that point, I think it was just because he needed one more.
It's true.
Right? Right?
It's true.
Do you have any more of them that you need to do or have to do?
No, we just finished. Well, yes. So we just finished doing a bunch of variants for the trade paperback, which is a weird thing that I didn't know. Like I'd heard sometimes they'd say like the bigger retailers would do their own version of a trade paperback, but since this sort of like retailer variant game has sort of taken off, a bunch of people are doing their own trade paperback covers too, and they sell through them.
Yeah,
So
they're-
like every time people want to do a cover for this book, I mean, now that it's like pretty popular, I'm like, I guess that'll probably do okay. But I'm always surprised that they just sell right out, you know, like because you know a trade they'll price them for like $30 or something, and then they'll just sell 300 or 500 of them or something in a couple of days. So that feels nice. But we just get the regular amount of money. We don't get the $30. But the stores do, and that's cool. Like I feel like those people will come back next time we do something because they'll remember that money they made off of those Stray Dogs trades. But yeah, we did 7 covers for Stray Dogs trades, and then there's some other ones that we didn't even do that are coming out, and then we have to do new ones for Stray Dogs Dog Days, which is it's not a sequel, but it's a 2-issue follow-up. We're sort of calling it like the Stray Dogs Annual or Stray Dogs Special, and it's just sort of the plot of Stray Dogs moved really fast, which is how we intended it. But we always thought like if this becomes a thing and people like it and like the characters, then we'll go back afterwards and do either a one-shot or a 2-issue thing where it's like short stories about each of the dogs. So that way you get like a little bit more, like if you read the book and you're just like, oh, I like Killer the most, but he only says like 10 words in the whole thing, then you sort of get a story that's all about Killer or Victor or Imogene or whatever. Yes?
How far does Stray Dogs get to go? Is it one that can just go for 200, 300 issues?
No, it's done. We're the 5-issue miniseries. The story ends like in a very conclusive way, and then
No more after 5.
so these 2 that we're working on right now, Tone came out a couple of weeks ago and drew the layouts for a good chunk of it, and then we've got like a couple more stories to finish up, and Trish is working on that, and so it'll just be 2 more issues in December and January, we think.
It's the heartbreaking part of the whole process because if I'm not speaking out of line, I think Image would love for him to come up with another one and just keep going with this, but it's done. The story wraps up, and then the whole time we were finishing up the last issue, I was like, oh no, like what's he gonna do now? Because in my head I'm like, oh no, of course he's gonna do more, but like knowing how the story ends, it's like no, the story just ends, and you're just like, all right, and that's all you hear because we've been doing shows, especially here in Dallas, through COVID. So everyone would come up to me talking about the book, and then they'd be like, so what are you guys gonna do next? It's like, I don't think there is anything else. But I couldn't like speak on it because I didn't know. And so when Tony told me about the the Dog Days, and Dog Days is like a prequel type thing, you know? Almost,
Yeah, it's sort of
in a
like
weird way.
prequel in betweequel. Some of it happens like at the master's house. Some of it happens before the dogs go
Yeah.
to the master's house. But
Yeah.
it's all sort of like some of it's how the dogs ended up there. Some of it's just like cute stories and stuff. But none of it is. There's a couple things that are like germane to the plot of Stray Dogs, but the rest of it is all just like if you like these dogs and you like short little scary stories or short little cute stories, then that's what Dogs Days is about. I need to get better at pitching it because I'm just sort of like, well, it's disposable. You don't really need it.
Well, but you know, and now because of the initial option, right? You know, they looked at it and they want to do this, and if they make the movie, they always build these things like they want other things. So I'm immediately like thinking like 20 years down the road, you know, like Psycho. Like remember Psycho came out and it was just one movie, and then all of a sudden there was Psycho 2, and we're like, what the hell? That movie was like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
What's that all about? And then there's a Psycho 3, and is there a 4 or 5? Like
There's definitely 4.
Yeah. So the whole time I'm like going, oh no, if this movie's like a big deal, or if a book is a big deal, I can imagine like there'll be like a Showtime show with the Master as a little kid, and his name just happens to be like Billy Masters or something, you know, something, and he just likes dogs. And
But
you know,
name the guy.
I just named him. I'm just saying. I just imagine he's out there like, you know, doing that whole serial killer thing where he's just killing animals in the park or something. It's just, and it's horrible because it has nothing to do with what he had, but I can see somebody going, oh, we were going to make a sequel to this.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing about the book, and it just being the one book, is that like, I don't think there's a Where the Red Fern Grows 2, or like, there is an Old Yeller 2, but nobody cares about it, you know, like, and I feel like the more, like, we have a thing that's really good and that I'm really proud of, and like, I just feel like we could junk it up by doing, you know, a copycat killer, or, you know, with a cat. But the thing about the movie is that, like, I sort of have plausible deniability on that too. You know, like if they want to make 10 Stray Dogs, we get paid every time, and I don't have to feel like a sellout myself because that's just what they're up to. You know, like I did the good thing, and then they can do whatever they want from there, and I feel completely fine taking their money. So, yeah. Does anybody have a question? Tone, do you have any more questions for me?
Oh, we got one right here.
Oh, yes.
Was there a character that you wanted to kill off but didn't get to the final product that you were thinking about killing off?
No, I mean, I knew who we were killing.
Or do you see me already shaking my head? I'm just like,
I knew like the major plot points from very early on. Like it took a while to get the whole thing plotted out and nailed out, but everybody that died in this story is who was originally going to die. There wasn't anybody that like got rescued or anything. Like the ones who we thought we were going to kill, we killed.
very early on, Tony sent me like the dogs. They had already worked out the dogs, and here are the dogs, and it was like that animation sheet where they're all standing next to each other, so you can get sizes and stuff. And I had already started working on the book, and I think it was a phone call, or maybe we were talking. I can't remember how it was, but I remember it vividly. I said, "Oh my God, Victor! I love Victor. Victor's like the tripod dog, the Dalmatian, right? He's missing an arm." And I said, "Oh, he's my favorite. I love him." He's Tony's response was, "Don't get familiar." Like totally. I'm like, "Ah!" And he's like, and I was like, "Oh," and then, but that's the funniest thing about him, because it wasn't like he was trying to like shock me or do. It's just his delivery. Yeah, no, don't. And then
I said, "Don't get too attached."
Don't get too attached. I keep saying familiar, so I'm changing it. Yeah, don't get too attached. But the thing was, even Trish said it. Like she was doing an interview a while back. Don't get attached. I got to remember that. She was doing an interview with some other people, and they were saying, "Oh, you know, the book's great." Blah 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 blah. It's like, what was like your favorite part of the book? It's like, what was your least favorite part of the book? And she was like, "Oh, you know, I just love drawing the dogs. I just love drawing." And then when they asked about the least favorite part, I knew exactly. I was even texting her like during the interview. I was like, "Oh, issue 4." And so sure enough, she was like, "Oh, there's like a page in issue 4 where, you know, you go into the shed." And I'm telling you, like, I don't think I touched that page for like 3 or 4 days. I just kept looking at it. I just didn't want to draw it.
Well, it's Tone did so much of the backgrounds that the shed page is all Tone, basically. Like he had to draw that whole thing.
horrible.
And there's like a sliver of a doorway that has all the dogs in it. So Trish obviously works her ass off on the thing. I would never, I'm just saying, like on this page specifically, Tone drew a ton of it, and he was just hating it. He's a sweet angel, but he always has to draw all this horrible, disgusting stuff because he's good at it.
Yeah, it took forever. So disappointing, so scared. Poor little Victor.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I'm sorry if
And
I ruined that
I
for
don't mean to
anybody.
be cavalier about any of these characters either. I just wrote them so
None-
long ago that
None of them are real.
by the time I was like handing the scripts off to Tone or Trish, like I already had come to terms with what had happened. Like I got a little bit emotional about it sometimes, but we worked on it for so long, and I was just like, yeah, you got to kill the dog on this page. Come on.
Did you put anywhere in the book no dogs were harmed in the production of this book?
I mean, I think that's pretty obvious.
No,
These are
I
cartoons.
know that, but I'm just saying, like, to me, that just because every time we go to the movies, I always wait for that thing to come through. I was like, oh, thank God, no dogs were hurt.
I'm sure they'll put it in the movie. Yeah.
You think it'll be animated or?
Yeah, they want to make it the first fully animated 2D animated horror movie. So like, I don't know if it's R-rated or not, and also to be clear, I don't know if it's happening or not. They just optioned it, which means they have the option to try and make it for about 18 months, and then at the end of that, they have to either pull the trigger or option it again. And if they pull the trigger, then they'll make it. So it's good news, but not 1,000% good news. Yes.
Who would you like to voice the dog?
Whoever brings in the most ticket sales, so I get like Brad Pitt, or whoever people are gonna come and see.
Bring the entire cast from the Gilmore Girls.
I mean, that is a failure waiting to happen. I would go see that. They talk very fast, so the movie would be like 20 minutes long. That's just for me.
Yeah, I'd love to see like that list, like who they're talking about.
Yeah.
Like because it's there. They're throwing that around.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like
I mean,
De
I feel
Niro
like
would be great for Imogene, but it's a girl, sir. Yeah, he'd be great.
He wants to do it. You could have De Niro do that part because Imogene only barks. She never speaks.
Yeah.
You could do like George Clooney in South Park.
I got one more question back here.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a team collaboration project that you're talking about bringing to the table now, since y'all are, popularity and y'all are being talked about a bunch?
Wow, it's almost like somebody's talked to you earlier and said, "Don't say anything." How weird.
Now the whole team's collaborating on Stray Dogs Dog Days right now, so we're working on that, and then I have a couple more things cooking up right now, and I have to talk to Trish about like what she wants to do, because she like we said earlier, like she's done great on this and she did such a great job, but she also has a real job still. Like she doesn't work in comics full time, so it's about like, does she want to take some time and go to sleep at a normal hour, or like what's she gonna want to do? But me and Tone are always gonna work together. So whatever I'm up to next, I'm sure I'll have him do something on it. And then we talked about what's our book that we do that's just me and him too. Like what's the one that he draws and the final art ends up on the page.
Yeah.
So we got stuff cooking.
Yeah, I mentioned something to them just
That's really
in
cool.
very
I wanna
loose.
see a team, working on a project throughout the whole series.
Well, yeah, that's sort of what we've been hoping to get to this whole time. Like working on different books and like I've been working on licensed kids stuff for years and stuff, and it's just sort of like whatever job comes along, you have to do that. But eventually, you want to get to the point where you can just do your own stuff and work with the people you want to work with. And for me, that's Tone. We've been best friends for years, and so it's nice to have somebody you trust and you have a shorthand with, and you can. But also, like being in the studio together, we can also say like that's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like you don't have to tiptoe. It's just it's easy.
Yeah, it's gotten very comfortable.
A little too comfortable. Right?
Yeah, but it does the thing with the hand. I flinch.
I would never.
Damn straight, you would never.
No artists were hurt in the making this.
Yeah,
comic.
exactly.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I'm
Oh, you did miss it, but it was.
The answer was amazing. I'm so sorry. Someone's gonna have to tell you that later.
I was watching a TV show that had a killer in it, and the killer at one point did not have a dog, and I left, and when I came back to the room, he had a dog, and I just got to thinking about like how do you get that dog, and then I got to thinking about like a serial killer that took people's dogs, and what that would be about. So that's the short version. It was Bates Motel, Vera Farmiga, very lovely, beautiful lady. Tone,
Yes.
What was your favorite part of working on this? What was your least favorite part of working on this? Not the money.
Yeah, shoot, that was the best and the worst part of this whole project. No, like you said, just kind of like just doing it. I mean, again, I can't even look him in the eye now. He called me his best friend. I feel so weird. He's the sweetest guy ever. He's been so cool. Again, when we were working in the studio, I was working in the studio by myself, and I hated it. And it was this horrible little garage in the back of my house, and then
It was a nice garage.
yeah, but you know what I mean. It wasn't
It had bugs.
great, yeah. But Chris Moreno, who's our other buddy, who's working in LA doing animation on Spider-Man and Muppet Babies, he was in there, and then Tony came along, and I, even though I met Tony before, I met him earlier with another mutual friend of ours, Fielkov, another comic book writer. When Tony finally came in the studio, he came in like Chris told me, hey, I got a buddy coming in, he's going to work with us in the studio. And so Tony shows up, and so I would get these phone calls all day long. My buddies would, hey, what are you doing? Oh, well, we're working. Who's in the studio? Oh, I'm here with Chris and Chris's buddy, Tony. And Tony would be like, all right. And then I get another phone call. Hey, who's in the studio? Chris and Chris's buddy, Tony. And then finally he was like, hey, why do you keep calling me Chris's buddy? It's like, I've known you longer. And it's like, oh, you came in with Chris. It's like, I guess I wasn't thinking about it.
We did do a lot of connecting to people to who they came in
Yeah,
with
yeah.
in those days for sure. It would be times where like Chris wouldn't even be there, and you'd be like, "Oh, it's just me and Chris's buddy Tony," and I'll be like,
Yeah.
"Take that personally."
Yeah, and I know it was so not intended. It was just, I was dealing with my stupid buddies. I do. I suffer from like super like low self-esteem.
It's a lot
and
of
stuff,
apologizing.
so always apologizing. Yeah. And then pretending like I don't care. I don't care. And then you're like, I care so
cares.
much. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, everything about the book, I mean, again, look, just the fact that I've been doing shows for a while now, but again, with you being here, it's like so many people, like I'm generally very busy at shows, but almost all the stuff that I'm busy with is like the Simpsons stuff, the Funko Pop remarks and that kind of stuff. I mean, just seeing you here and like seeing all those people show up and just people going nuts over the book. It's like, again, up until 3 months ago, maybe 2 months ago, I think we have mutual friends that literally came up to me at a show and said, I had no idea you worked on this book. And I'm like, well, that's my name right there. And I had it to show, it's like right there. But keep in mind, that's the other thing. When the book was getting ready to come out and they sent me my first box of comps, I've only had this happen to me a couple times where somebody sends you a comp and when you open it, like you literally kind of like go, oh my God, like look at what he did. I'm like feeling a little bit like hair standing up. But when my comp showed up and it had the cover on it, obviously, and on the cover, it had my name on it. Because we had done a couple of these other books, and like I got like a thanks, Stone, on the bottom of it. And it's like no problem, because again, it was just a job I'm helping, right? But like when Tony went out of his way to make sure that he put my name on the cover to basically give me that little bit of credit, it's like that's probably my favorite part of the whole thing. That was very, very sweet of you. And it did not like it didn't cost him anything. It didn't. He just did it, and I was just like, oh my God. Like I remember running through the house. I went to April. I was like, babe, look, he put my name on the book. Like a child.
She was like, good.
Yeah, damn straight. But yeah, the worst thing, probably the day you broke my heart and told me not to get attached to Victor. I mean, I'm telling you, I swear to God, Victor is my favorite dog in that whole book. And the dogs are great. And I just like immediately was like, oh no.
He's named after, so I used to be thinner than this. I went to this like fat class at the Kaiser Permanente. They would put you on shakes. I lost a bunch of weight before COVID, and I put it all back on. But in fat class, there was this guy named Victor who was like the sweetest, fattest. He had diabetes, and like he couldn't have the same shakes as everybody else, and he was just such a sweet soul. And I was just like, I'm gonna turn this guy into a Dalmatian and kill him. Yes, sir.
Brings up the question, who are the dogs based on?
Some of them are just based on like archetypes. Like Rusty and Sophie are just based on like, this is the alpha dog and this is the final girl, you know. And Earl is named after my grandfather, but he's just sort of based on like the character in a horror movie that's like, you're all overreacting, you know, like the guy in Night of the Living Dead that won't come out of the basement, you know. So a lot of them are based on that, and then some of them are based on our friends' dogs. Other Henry, the bull terrier, is based on my ex's dog, and Roxanne is based on Trish's dog. There's the Free Comic Book Day dog is based on one of Tone's dogs. So we just sort of had fun, like putting our dogs and our friends' dogs in. My buddy who got the movie optioned, the pug killer is based on his dog. And I was just like, if I put his dog on this, I bet he's going to make a movie out of this. That'd be good. And that worked out pretty well. So yeah, it's sort of like a combination of things. But their personalities aren't really based on any one person in particular, except the case of, like I said, that guy Victor, I thought was just such a sweet angel.
Have you checked in on Victor?
No, I don't know how to get a hold of him. It's not like we exchange numbers at Fat Class.
You guys didn't like go out for like lunch afterwards?
No, that was the whole thing, is that we weren't going out for lunch. We were just having shakes.
You know, and the funny thing about the dogs is I remember when I got the lineup and I was looking at the dogs, I'm like, oh, there's no Schnauzer in here. And it kind of like got weird. I was like, all right, that's interesting. Because again, we were working in the house, right? The Schnauzers were there. And so I remember, I think the first or second issue came out, and I remember April looking at over my shoulder after I showed her my name or whatever, and she looked at it. She goes, "There's no Schnauzer in here." And it's like, why didn't Tony put a Schnauzer in there? I said, "Babe, look, it's Tony's book. I'm not going to ask him about it. It's like it's no big deal." So then when this is the craziest thing, well, he goes ahead and he gets a hold of me. I want to say it's like February, and he goes, all right, hey, we got to get this Free Comic Book Day thing, right? Because I saw a post somewhere that said that they were going to have a Free Comic Book Day book. And so I messaged him and I said, hey, man, I'm not working on this Free Comic Book Day book, am I? And I don't even know how you took it. Like, in my head, I didn't mean it like, I'm not working on this thing. I was like, I'm not working on this, right? That's how I said. But he probably read it like, fucking asshole.
It's because Tone's so unassuming, is that he just assumes that, like, unless I show up with an engraved letter that I wouldn't want him on the thing.
It's February.
I was like, you own 10% of this book. Your name's on the cover of it. What are you talking about?
But that's what I was saying. It was February, and Free Comic Book Day is usually in May.
Oh, yeah.
So
March.
I'm like, oh, they got somebody else to work on this book. Like, and I immediately, oh, they don't need me anymore. And he's so sweet. Sorry, I didn't mean to touch you. But he sends me like this, like, I don't even know if it says you idiot, but it might as well say that, right? You idiot, like, you are a partner, you're this. And so it was, again, another one of those really, really, really sweet things that he sent me. But like in my head, I'm immediately thinking like, I hope he doesn't think I meant like I'm not working on this. Because like I said, it was February. And so I'm like, but the book comes out, and he goes, no, they changed the date. They changed the date. So then he sends me, by the way, here's the cover, because he had to get that in super early. And there's a Schnauzer on the cover, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, yay. And then I realize, oh, shit, like, this is a horror book. I can't show my wife this, because she's now going to get super excited, because the dog is, like, based on Issa. And, it's like, thank God you didn't kill the dog in the book, is all I'm saying. I mean, I know you...
We did, though.
No, I know you did, because, yeah, but I'm saying, It's not good. I can't
I
show
mean,
her
that
that
dog
book.
could have died of old age.
Yeah,
too.
let's hope so.
Let's say that. It's
Yeah.
canon right here for sure.
You wondered who was gonna die, you're able.
But yeah, but that was funny. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, we got both those schnauzers in there. In
Yeah.
issue 4, 2 schnauzers show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, anybody else got a question?
Yes, sir.
Oh, little guy.
Do you have any like skills only you know about?
Skills. I have nunchuck skills.
Only you know about that. For sure.
I do. I can't do it in public. I got to be alone in the dark. But I'm amazing at it.
I don't have skills that only I know. I mean, I guess sometimes I'm okay at karaoke, but I mean, other people know about that. One time I got struck by lightning. Not a lot of people know about that. That's not a skill, though. That's just a misfortune. Sure. It was a skill to survive.
It wasn't fun at the time, apparently, but
Yeah, it's like a nightmarish fact.
I tell people that fact is what makes you so. What's the word? Not unique, like real. No, real. Like there's no filter on him. Like.
You think it's because I was dead before?
You've been dead, and you're like, I don't have time for this. Like in my head, like I've got like this. He got superpowers, and his superpowers is he doesn't have to like sit there and like, what is it when you have to like coddle people and yeah, there's no filter. So sometimes we'll be out, and he'll just be like, hey, let me ask you a question, and he'll say something. Meanwhile, I'm like.
You say I don't have a filter. You should hear the stuff that I'm not saying.
No, you're.
I'm holding everything back all the time. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
So I've been streaming this for the Stray Dogs Facebook group.
Oh, cool.
Trish says she would like you guys to know that she's been watching the whole time. So
It's
Well,
okay.
Trish.
We watch her all the time.
Thank goodness we didn't say any of the bad stuff about it. That would have been embarrassing. Is there questions from the group? Okay.
You'd figure they'd be the ones who'd be asking all sorts of questions.
So, Tone.
Yes, sir.
Oh, did you have a question?
We'll post,
Oh, cool.
we'll share this with the group.
Right on. Sweet. What have you drawn that you never want to have to draw? Not the violence and stuff, but like you could go without ever having to draw that sunroom again, right? Like you don't want to draw those couches.
No,
anymore.
you know what? I'll be honest with you. I've been sitting on a thing that I've wanted to do for a while, and because I still have like all the artwork there, I just started working digitally just to try to speed my way through a bunch of work. I actually want to draw the sunroom a couple more times for like one of our horror stories. Mm-hmm. And every time I talk to somebody about it, they say, you should probably talk to Tony about that first. Because it's a horror story, but like I said, it's like it wouldn't be attached to this at all. But the idea was like, oh, we should totally do this. And then every time I tell somebody about it, they're like, you probably should have read that past, Tony.
I mean, you can use the house. Somebody
Yeah.
else could move in there, like hanging with Mr. Cooper, moved into Growing Pains' house.
Is that what happened?
Yeah,
Okay.
everyone knows that.
I don't know that. So, you know, when you were working on the, again, this is a sidetrack. When you were working on the Transformers stuff,
Uh-huh.
did you want to do that? Like, because sometimes we get jobs and people like throw it your way, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're doing it. Because you were drawing like the Transformers like for prints and stuff before
Yeah.
you did that, and then all of a sudden did somebody see the print and like go, hey, here?
Oh, yeah, no, when we were doing those prints early, because there's a My Little Pony Transformers crossover that I drew the first part, and I just wrote and drew a part of the second series. But before that, we did these like lithographs for Hasbro and IDW and all kinds of stuff like that, exclusives for conventions and stuff. And at that time, they were talking about doing it back then.
Oh.
And I always wanted to do it because I thought it was a neat contrast, the soft characters with the hard-edged Transformers characters. But then it just sort of got pushed back for years.
Gotcha.
And so when it finally came out, I would not want to draw Transformers, just Transformers.
Yeah.
Because those things are hard to draw. But I just like the way that the ponies and Transformers complement each other. I feel like that's an interesting thing. I like drawing that. I don't care about just drawing Transformers. Yeah. This has been your Transformers My Little Pony Minute. Thank you for sticking around.
I was just thinking about it because I remember the last time I was in the old studio.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the posters in there. I was like, I guess I never thought about it. I was like, wait a minute. Because you had we're just talking about this. I'll stop.
What did I have?
The Transformers poster, like in the bathroom.
Oh, from what?
Yeah, wasn't there a poster in there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, there was.
Okay.
You're right. There was a Transformers. There was a Transformers poster in the bathroom. It was signed by Optimus Prime. Somebody framed it for me, so I put it up in the bathroom.
You mean the guy who did the voice?
What? Yeah, it wasn't signed by
Yeah,
a
I was
real.
going to say.
It's not by the real Optimus Prime.
Tony, you are great, Optimus.
That's not how my shoulders look. So did you guys all read the whole book? Like, does anybody have any questions about anything, or?
Any unanswered questions? No.
I feel like we've broken it down pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I can just let you know what to look forward to. So Free Comic Book Day is August 14th, and there's a Free Comic Book Day Stray Dogs that's coming out. It's the first issue, but it also has 10 pages of brand new stuff. And like Tone said, it's the German Schnauzer issue. His name is Fritz. He's new. You saw a little bit of him in issue 4, but it's the story of the first dog that came to the master's house, and so it just sort of like gives you a little more context about the master and like what he was doing. One of the things that I like most about telling the story from the perspective of these dogs is that we didn't have to go deep on like this guy's psyche or like what messed him up, because I think that's sort of like, I think it's kind of ghoulish, you know? Like, I get into it myself, too, where I'll just, like, read about serial killers and stuff, but at a certain point, I'm just like, they're just jerks, you know? Like, it just can't... The way I don't go around killing people, they can't be that cool, so they suck. So I liked sort of just only showing what the dog saw, because it was like we weren't glorifying him. Hopefully it was like we weren't glorifying him. But, that being said, now we're showing you a little bit more of, like, what he does and how he goes around, and but I do like showing it from the dog's perspective, because you're like, the reader gets to learn about what he's doing just by seeing what the dogs see. And because we know what serial killers are, a dog would see it and just go like, oh, there's a man, but we see it and we're just like, oh, this creep, why does he drive a van like that, or you know.
I used to drive a van.
And you're a creep. Your van was not like that. Yours was like a family van.
We had windows. Yeah, we have windows in it. If you have a van and there's no windows in it, creep.
No murderer has the blinds.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, I had blinds.
You're either the A team or a creep.
That's right. This guy's definitely the A team. If it has a TV in it, it's not a murderer. One assumes. So yeah, Free Comic Book Day. Trade paperback comes out in September. And like I said, there's a whole bunch of different versions. If you're the kind of person that likes to chase down covers, I don't know if there's like an aftermarket for trade paperbacks or what that deal is, but there's a bunch of them, so we're going to find out. Like, we're psyched about it just because that means there's that many more trades going to stores, and hopefully a lot of them will find their way into new people's hands and not just be like, part of me is just like, whoever buys them is fine with me, but I like the idea of it sort of like getting out there to more and more people. And there's so many people have read it already that it's weird anyway, but I like how many of these trades are going to be out there at this point, just because, you know, you hope to run into somebody at a party or something that doesn't know who you are and then has read your book. That would be great for my ego.
Oh my God, that'd be crazy.
Whew.
Right?
You wouldn't be able to bring me down. And then
I hate comic books, but I love this Stray Dogs thing.
And then Stray Dogs Dog Days in hopefully in December and January. We should solicit within the next couple of previews, so you'll know more about that then. And that's just 2 issues, 10 stories, 1 story about each of the dogs.
I just want to say, how many variants are there of issue number 1?
Cool. Just issue 1.
I know
Oh.
you had to approve every one of them, right?
Yeah, that's good. I can do this. All
Carry
right,
the
this will do the
2.
last 10 minutes. A cover, B cover, blank cover, acetate cover. Right? That's all for
That's
for just
one.
regular.
Yeah.
Then there's the Blair Witch cover, Poltergeist cover, Chrissy Zolo cover.
Yeah.
That's the pink one.
Yeah.
Is that it? Oh, 7 cover. I've lost count already. Is this 9?
I'm at 9.
Yeah, so there's the preview copy, which there's only 200 of that I gave out to retailers before the book came out, so that's 10.
That's issue 1.
Then there's second printing, third printing, fourth, fifth, B cover, or blank cover,
Yeah.
fifth printing. So that's 15?
Yeah, I got 15.
15.
I know there was another hand over here, and I forgot where it was, and I realized, I did this one twice.
If you ask me how many covers there are for the whole thing, I absolutely would forget a bunch of them. Like, I have no idea. And I just feel like that's sort of how the industry works right now, and I don't think, like, the second printings having different covers and the third printings is necessarily the same as, like, people really equate variant covers with the 90s and the bust and the dark times and stuff. But I think the way that it works now is just shops, instead of ordering heavy on issue 1, they'll order it, and then if they feel like they can sell more, then they'll want more, you know? And so it's just sort of like, instead of this big investment up front, they can sort of buy like little drops, you know? So the second printing, like those second and third printings, I think we're only selling like 5,000 or 6,000 of them, or, you know, but just enough that, you know, there's 3,000 shops in the United States ish. And so, you know, they each have, you know, 5 other people that want to read this book. And so then we sell that many, you know? And so it just sort of, as the book went on and and the popularity sort of ticked up, every issue we were selling more. And so we'd have to do these reprints. And so we have all these other covers. And then there's a certain part of it where it's like super hardcores on the book. We'll try and get every single one of them. And like, that's cool too. But like, we're trying not to be too opportunistic or like greedy about it, or, you know, like we didn't want to be when people look back on the comics of the 2020s and just go like, well, you remember when Stray Dogs had 15 number ones, you know, we don't want that to be our story.
But see, I don't think that that's going to happen with this at all. Like, I don't think you're going to go into a comic book shop 5 years from now and you're going to find a bunch of like,
In the
you know,
quarter pile.
Because if you want to ask me like what's like one of the worst things you can do at a show is like, because I like digging through boxes, right? You start digging through and then you see, oh, hey, there's one of my books. Oh, there's another one of my books. Oh, wow, they have a whole bunch of my books in here. I don't think you're going to see those in there. I think the hardcore fans that are really involved in it, I think they've got them or they're trying to get them. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be like Spawn 1, like, you know, Spawn 1. Like, you can still go into dollar bins at places and still find them, I think.
Grab that if you see it.
No,
That's a
I
good
know,
comic.
but I'm just saying. Well, maybe I'm wrong on that one. I'm just picking a book at random. Like, there was a lot of those books is what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I've seen more at this show than I've ever seen so far, even in shops.
It's talking about Spawn 1?
no, he's talking about
straight up.
It's
Oh,
because
yeah.
he's here.
Oh, yeah.
It helps.
I mean, me too. That was the crazy thing, is how, like, you know, I brought a few to sell, but everybody coming up just already had the book, and it's just like, I mean, I didn't know you guys were reading Stray Dogs down here. I mean, I guess I did, because we had a couple stores that were real hardcore on Stray Dogs. So, yeah, it's been super neat, you know, traveling around, seeing it, just existing in places where I'm not.
Our local comic shop, which is 2 hours away, they only had like 2 copies for a couple of their regular customers, so
Yeah.
we couldn't get it.
Yeah, my aunt lives out here. I guess that's why I was a little bit surprised. My aunt lives in Texas, and she was just like, yeah, my shop didn't know about it. And I was like, what? We've been making all sorts of noise. Or like, I had a friend who lives in Detroit, and she said my shop would not order it. I was like, that's from Image. I don't know. It was definitely a weird, you know, like, we tried to do as much talking to retailers ahead of time and talking to, like, sort of getting the word out ahead of time as possible, because it is like, the pitch is easy when you tell people it's a story about dogs who are the trophies taken by a serial killer, and now they're trying to figure out, you know, what they're going to do. Like, that's a pretty easy pitch if you're a retailer. But you show them a cartoon dog book and say, like, your readers will buy this. They don't really have a one-to-one, besides, like, Beasts of Burden, or, like, there's a few, you know, Usagi Yojimbo, I guess, is, like, a book that is about an animal that also has violence, but, like, that's not neither of those are gigantic sellers that they can just go, like, we should go hard on this, you know? So, it definitely was interesting where people could find it and where they couldn't find it. So I was mailing around copies of the book to people where they're just like, you send this to me, and then now, 5 months later, I'm just like, I sent that lady $200 because their shop wouldn't order it. Is that it? That's how we're going out on this? Oh, thank you guys so much. Thank you for coming out. Thanks for reading our book. We really appreciate it.
Y'all be sure to go subscribe to Gage Cave so y'all can watch this and share it to all y'all's friends.
I'll be
Thanks,
sharing.
Tony, and thank you, Colin.
Thank
very
you,
much.
Uncle Nasty.